Welcome, everyone. We're glad to have you here for this Workshop Wednesday. My name is John Deline, a systems engineer here at Variphy, and I will be hosting today's workshop. We are joined by my fellow systems engineer, Mike Stratton, a man who knows a thing or two about calling scenarios. Hey, Mike, it's great to be here with you. How are you doing today?
Doing good, John. How are you?
I am doing quite well. Excellent, even. So we'll start off with a brief overview of our company and what we do. Next, Mike will present us with some valuable insights on transferred call scenarios. We'll pause for a Q&A and get some of your questions answered. During the demo, if you have any questions, make sure to ask them in the Q&A panel in the bottom right corner of the screen. After Q&A, we'll award one lucky attendee with a $50 Amazon gift card. So hang around to see if you've won. Variphy is the preferred analytics and management solution for Cisco collaboration. We provide industry-leading CDR, UCCX, and Cube Call analytics, customizable dashboards and widgets, remote phone control, change management, and dial plan management. But today we're going to focus on transferred call scenarios. If you have any questions regarding any of our other features, please feel free to chat them over to me and we'll take those offline and get them answered for you promptly. One more thing before I kick things off, for those of you looking for more hands-off Variphy experience, we do offer a managed consulting service. This is a service that provides a dedicated Variphy SE to do all the heavy lifting, giving you and your users a complete hands-off experience. Think of us as an extension of your organization. This service provides upgrades, one-on-one training, report and dashboard building, or anything you need. Your dedicated Variphy systems engineer has you covered. The only thing you have to do is reach out to us. If you want any additional information on our ECS services, feel free to reach out to your account manager and we'd be happy to see if ECS is right for you. With all that said, it's time to pass control over to Mike, and he'll take us into the wild.
All right. Thank you, John. Thank you, everyone, for joining us today. As John said, I'm going to cover transferred call scenarios. So within the Variphy software, we can take your call data and assign to it one or more call scenario types. So think of abandoned, connected, not connected, forwarded or voicemail. On the transferred call side of things, there's 4 call scenario types, and there's a doc in our knowledge base. If you look for the Variphy CUCM CDR Call Analytics Call Scenario Guide and Dictionary, or if you just look up Call Scenario Guide, that should take you right to the article. And scroll down, and you'll see all the different call scenario types. And you'll see here, there's the 4. So the 4 that we're looking at today, transferred from. So right here, transferred from, which is where a call resulted in a transfer. Transferred to, which is where the call record is the result of a transfer, either blind or consultative. Transferred blind, which would be a call that was a result of a blind transfer, or transferred consultative, which is where the call is a result of a consultative transfer. So these scenarios and these scenario types can be found in the search set statistics. That can be included in grouping statistics, and they can also be included in the call details. So if I go, not there yet, let me see if this is going to time out. Yep, there we go. Get back in. So when you're building a report, you'll see it in the under the grouping section, under the search set, and also under call history. So under grouping, the call scenarios come up in a couple different places. Even just under the main call statistics options, you can see the transferred from stats, the transferred to, transferred blind, or transferred consultative. You'll see different call counts, percentages, durations, averages, all that good stuff. You also see them down below here with the different scenario types. So here's just a list of all the different call scenarios. You can break them out by different time units. So same thing for the search set stats, and then down under the call history details, there is a column. If you search for call scenario types or any way or scenario, you can add to the detail, and then it'll list out the different call scenarios applied to a call. So we can have, multiple scenarios applied to the same call. A call can be transferred. It can also be answered. It can also be connected, or a call can be not connected and abandoned. So, I mean, you can see all the different scenarios that apply to a call. So, I'm going to go over, give some detail on the 4 different scenario types. And then, but before I do that, I'm just going to kind of explain how transferred calls look within the Cisco CDR. Not everyone has been fortunate enough to really dig into the transferred data, the transferred call data. So here is my this is my basic example. Let me make this a little bigger. If you can't see this, let us know in the chat. I'll try to increase it a little more. So a non-transferred call. Let's say I called John directly. We spoke on the phone, and then we hang up. That will give us, one call record just for that one call. If, John were to transfer me to somebody else, like transfer me to Victor or transfer somewhere else, this call that, my one call to John is then going to be broken up into multiple call records once the call is transferred. In a normal transfer scenario, we will get the original call, then we're going to get the consultation call, and then the final transfer call to kind of round out the simple kind of call scenario. So in this call right here, we have, ignore that top part. So here's the call. So this top record here, this is the original call. This caller here, the 904 number, they called in. I believe this is a hunt palette. It hits the hunt palette, then redirects to extension 6133. 6133 answered the call. They spoke with the person for 13 minutes and 15 seconds. At that point, they go to transfer the call. The next leg, this is the consultation call. So 1633 then dials wherever they're going to transfer the call to. This is an outbound, like an outside number. They transfer to 866 number. Zero duration call. If you look at the farthest right column under the call scenario types, you can see that the first record and the second record are both transferred from. I mean, this record also is answered, connected, forwarded, all that good stuff. But as far on the transfer side, both these calls are both the transferred from scenario type. At this point in time, the 6133 transfers the call, and then the final record is the final transferred call record. This is where the original caller, the 904 number, then is connected to the number that they were being transferred to. They talk for a minute, 57 seconds, and then we see the call terminates. And now this record is now considered transferred to and also transferred consultative. Okay. So from our point of view in the CDR, if we ignore the calling party original and final call party number, the first 2 records look pretty much identical. Cisco tells us that the originating cause code for both is call split. Whenever you see a call split in a record, that just means that there's another record coming, or the call has been split. The actual call has been split into multiple records. Usually it means that there's some sort of transfer going on. So record 1, call came in with the 6133, they transferred the call. Or it was part of a transfer. 6133 then transfers the call or dials the number to transfer the call. So this just tells us, hey, there's more there's more legs in the CDR. The origination termination on behalf of and the terminating termination on behalf of are both set to transfer. So I mean, so from our point of view, both of these records look the same. I mean, native call queuing is different, but from a transfer point of view, the original record and the consultation call both appear the same within the data, and they're both being tagged as transferred from. So this tells us that these 2 calls, helped create a call transfer. The third leg, does not have call splits in the cause code columns. That's because this record is where the call completes. It's not transferred or split into yet another leg. We can see with normal call clearing in the originating side of the cause code list that the calling party, they hung up first after a minute and 57 seconds of duration. Cisco's documentation really highlights that the final leg or like the final transfer leg will have the transfer and the join on behalf of, and also we can see that the last redirect reason is also called transfer. So This final leg is marked as transferred consultative, also is transferred to. So we can see these two records, think of it like a transferred out. These two records are part of the transfer out, and then this record is the destination side or the transfer in, transfer to. So this call here kind of covers, or this example covers 3 out of the 4 scenario types, transferred from, transferred to, and then the transfer consultative call. The missing leg or the missing example is the transferred blind. And so for me, I've always thought of a blind transfer as a call where someone, an agent or a receptionist or anybody really, hits the transfer soft key, dials the number, and then like transfers the call before it connects to, or before someone picks up, or before it connects to whomever it's being transferred to. So I was surprised initially that this call was marked as consultative and not blind, but then I remembered in Cisco's data there is a separate call. So let me go my blind transfer scenario. So a blind transfer in Cisco's data is not just they hung up before they could answer. That's really just more like a cold transfer. But a blind transfer is if they use the actual blind transfer option on the phone. And from a lot of my sample data, most people just seem to use the regular transfer button. I have no examples really of an actual like a real blind transfer. So I had to make one up. So this is a different call, same kind of basic sequence. The call comes in, hits in this case another Hunt pilot. 6011 picks up, 6011 picks up, transfers to 4038, and then the calling party goes to 4038. On a blind transfer call, we see that the last redirect reason is blind transfer instead of what we got back here, just regular call transfer. So when a user or a person uses the actual blind transfer function on the phone, it will be tagged as blind transfer in the CDR, and then we'll also mark it with the scenario type of transferred, blind to alongside of transferred to. Okay, but what I was saying before, this leg doesn't really matter if the call connects or not. If it's a cold transfer or a warm transfer, as long as they use the normal transfer function, it'll show up as transferred consultative and not transferred blind. So high level, that's pretty much, it's a good example of like the 4 different scenarios. Moving on, actually, I'll pause here. If there's any like Q&A questions that have to do with the sample data before we get to the end, if anyone has one, go ahead, chat it or type it in the Q&A section. John, if there are any, let me know.
Keeping an eye on it.
I can see it too. Okay, well, I'll move on. If anyone has any questions, go ahead and ask in the Q&A. So moving on, a little more complex. So these are like the two kind of basic, examples where, 3 legs. First leg is the original call, then you have the consultation call, and then you have the final leg that, after the transfer. Getting into a more complex scenario, I have a great example here. This is where, so this one I use a lot on my demos. It just has a bunch of transfers and lots going on, but once you break it down, it's pretty easy to understand. So call, basically, this caller here, they called in to 7100, went to 8000. They're there for 6 seconds. I think this was Unity. The call is split, but it's not your standard transfer. So it goes to Unity for 6 seconds, goes to voicemail. We have it marked as transferred from, so it's initiating part of a transfer. The next leg, we're not getting that middle consultation leg. This next leg, the caller is delivered to contact center. So it hits the trigger, goes to CCX. They're there for 12 seconds. Now this one starts, what if you actually look at it, it starts like a normal transfer kind of scenario. So we have this is like the origination leg. We see that it's marked as transferred from. We have, both legs are call split, and both of the on behalf ofs are transferred. So call comes in the contact center, starts the transfer. Then the contact center here delivers the call or transfers the call to the agent at extension 7443. Here again, call split, transfer, transfer. Looks exactly like, back to our original call, split, 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 transfer, 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 transfer. So it's exactly the same thing. This leg here is marked as transferred from as well. So again, we have the original leg, we have the consultation leg, and then we have the final leg where the calling party then goes to the agent. So this is the final transfer leg, 7443. We have it marked as, transferred consultative to and transferred to. But this record also is marked as transferred from. So the call continues. So the call is transferred to an agent from contact center. We see that it's call split. Now they didn't end the call here. The agent actually transferred the call again to a hunt group. So we're seeing this call was transferred in and then also transferred out. So then we start the whole process over again. This leg here is an origination call leg or for the transfer, and also like a termination destination leg too, or the final leg. So then we start from again. We're at the transfer from. Here is the consultation leg where 7443 then transfers the call to the hunt pilot, which is 77280. Again, we see the same values transferred from. And then we get the final call record where the calling party hits the hunt pilot, goes to the agent 1542. And then we see that it is transferred consultative to, and then also transferred to. So this record here, we have two transfers in the same call. It looks like there's a lot more going on, but when you break it down, it's just two sets of the same kind of basic standard transfers within the same report. Okay, so some other examples or some other ways you can play with the data. I was looking at our sample report. If you haven't downloaded the sample reports from our website, we do have some template reports available for CUCM, UCCX, and Q reporting. One of the CUCM reports is a sample hunt group report. I use this like all the time. It's a great report to build off of, and you can customize it, add your own features, or just modify it. So this report is looking at that same hunt group from the previous report, 77280. Just to keep things more interesting, I got rid of some of the detail and I added the transferred from and the transferred to call counts and percentages of the report. So basically, not there. We went into the search set stats, and here I just added transferred from, and then the to call count, and then the to call percentage as well. Oops. And I added to the sample report. So what we have here, we're taking back to the left. We're taking the 257 total calls, and then we're seeing how many calls were transferred into the hunt group, which would be the transferred to call count. So 28 calls were transferred into the hunt group, and then 175 were transferred from the hunt group. It's a great metric. We do have users that come to us and say, hey, we have a hunt group or a contact center. We want to see how many calls are being transferred in or transferred out. Maybe your agents shouldn't be transferring calls, or maybe they should be. So we can identify what's coming in, what's coming out, and how is it getting to the hunt pilot or contact center, or the agents, or some group of calls. The next section down is the grouping. So this is grouping on which end user took the call. Adding this feature or adding the transferred call counts to the grouping section. It's really to highlight how many calls that come into the hunt group that the agents are taking, how many calls are transferred out. Really, the transferred to, in this case, is going to be a little misleading because it's going to really reflect just how many transferred calls into the hunt pilot were answered by the agent. It's not really how many calls were directly transferred to the agent, because we are searching on calls into the hunt group. But if I was to really keep this report around, I would be looking more at the transferred from call count, so I can see how many calls are being transferred from each of the agents. Okay. Again, good report, great idea to see what's coming in, what's coming out, whether or not your agents or receptionists are should or should not be transferring calls. And then moving from the reporting side more so towards the dashboard or widget side, the transfer data can definitely be included in the different widgets. Here, just highlighting some the same data into the hunt group, saying how many are coming in, how many are coming out. Again, grouping it by agents. We can do different groupings, and these are just basic hunt pilot widgets. But so yeah, I mean, at a high level, as far as the transfer call, the data goes with those scenario types, and not just even the transfer calls. I mean, there's a bunch of different great scenario types. If you want to see more insight as to what's going on with the calls, was it abandoned, was it connected, not connected? The scenario types can give you additional information as to what's going on within the data. And just kind of recap from the transferred side of things, if a call was transferred out, or like and if a call was transferred or began the transfer, then it's going to be tagged as transferred from. And then the three other transferred to are going to be applied more so on the destination side of the transfer. If it's transferred to, you'll see it where if the call was the result of a transfer, then we can break down how the call was transferred. If the call was transferred blind, using the blind transfer function, the phone, you'll see it marked as transferred blind to calls. Or if the call was just transferred using the regular function, it'll be tagged as transferred consultative to. So that's it, I think, for the transfer calls, scenario types. If you have any questions, go ahead, submit them in the Q&A. And I guess, John, I think it's back to you.
All right. Thanks, Mike. Awesome presentation. Fantastic as always. All right. Now, the winner of this week's gift card is Jim Sonic. Congratulations, Jim. Your account manager will be reaching out to you shortly to get you paid. Now be sure to join us next week when the new features of our 13.1.0 release will be presented by our doctorate level systems engineers, Brian and Dre, with surgical precision to delight and astound you. All right, I'd like to thank you once again for taking the time to join us today. Have a great rest of your week, everyone. Take care.
Bye, everyone.